I am bringing this headline to your attention because there are many in the alternative media and the mainstream media that have not. Now, this came out in January of this year, January 11th, 2013. Police cadets from China may shadow Houston, Texas police officers. Now, this is not something new. China's already been shadowing Texas officers, in particular in League City, Texas. And I made a video about this last year. That program has ended, and according to this January 2013 report from Crone.com, they may be shadowing Houston patrol officers next year. That would be 2014, after League City officials announced plans to end the program in that city. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on this Chinese cadet program. You can even call it a police exchange program, because the American police chief of League City, Texas, has also been traveling to China to learn Chinese police tactics. So all this is very, very interesting in the modern global age. The article reads, the Community Police Internship Program has been in place in League City and Alvin since 2010. It's funny how this is often used as an excuse. Oh, it's always been this way. It's been going on for a couple years, so let's just do more of it. The pilot program is based at Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, and the cadets spend 4 days each year with the local police departments to learn about American-style law enforcement. And why is that? Why is it important to the Chinese to learn American-style law enforcement tactics? They have a different system in China, a very different legal system, a very different prison system, but also a system that's just as barbaric, and in some cases more so. Unless you're a fool, unless you're willfully ignorant, you've got to know something about what's been done to the Falun Gong in China. And if we know what the Chinese will do to their own people, or let me just rephrase that, if we know what the elite in China will do to the peasantry in China, what makes you think that they will be easier on Americans if they're in a situation where they're called to service, they're called to duty, if you will, by our government to quell some sort of an uprising or to deal with some sort of unrest or disaster? Obviously, this is something that our government's preparing for, working with China. We can look at this drill taking place in Hawaii right now. It's all done under the guise of disaster relief, disaster preparedness, emergency preparedness. It's a very popular excuse, just like terrorism is the popular excuse, to basically declare war on the whole world and our own country's citizens. We're seeing disaster preparedness as the excuse for our own government bringing in Russia and bringing in China to help us prepare for these disasters, these typhoons, these earthquakes. Very, very interesting. You got to be a fool to not see what's taking place here. So this is the report that you can look up on your own. And we're only talking about 16 cadets that were a part of this, at least what we know, a part of this program that was taking place in League City, Texas, which may, of course, now be expanded to Houston. But think about the big picture. Ask yourself the big questions. Why would the Chinese be interested in American police tactics? Why are they going on ride-alongs, learning more about our society, our problems? And why Houston, a coastal town? Not very far from the coast, rather. Not very far from the ocean. Not very far from the Gulf. Not very far from where boats and ships could be coming in. I think it's very interesting that all this is happening in Houston, Texas. You can find this report at Crone.com. Police cadets from China may shadow Houston officers. For more information, the link is down below in the description if you want to follow up on the story and read about it. I mentioned earlier that I did a video on this last year. Here are a few clips from that video. This is a UNN special report for January 27th, 2012. Chinese police brutality is continuing to make headlines with their deadly crackdown on ethnic minorities living in China as well as Tibet. But here's a developing story right here at home in the United States that's received little to no press. Chinese police are currently being trained in firearms and law enforcement tactics in Alvin and Junction City, just outside of Houston, Texas. That's about 4 hours from here. The come and take it state is quickly becoming the Chinese Police Academy state. Closely resembling a student exchange program, law enforcement agencies in China and the U.S. are teaming up to share information and merge tactics on how to best control their populations. Now, out of 10,000 applicants, only in a handful, a chosen few, were selected for this special international assignment.
Another year and another opportunity for two great countries and two police forces to make a difference. For the second year in a row, the League City Police Department has hosted 9 police cadets from China's Zhejiang Police Academy. The cadets are required to complete 4 years of training, including a year-long internship at Sam Houston State University. As a part of their internship, the cadets spent a week with officers from the League City and Alvin Police Departments. League City was chosen to participate in the program for the second year. Police Chief Mike Jez says it's a great opportunity for both League City officers and the Chinese students.
So it's really exciting, I think, for our officers to have an influence on future policymakers and a national police agency that's certainly a world power.
The program focuses on community policing, a practice that League City Police Department is known for.
We wanted to make sure that we had communities that had strong histories of community-oriented policing, as well as communities that were where the police were trusted and had good relationships with the community. And in this area, Alvin and League City both have very long histories of both good, effective community relations as well as community-oriented policing. So we thought this would be a good fit. Also, quite frankly, the hospitality of the people in those communities was another reason for choosing.
The students received several hours of classroom training. They took a tour of the Galveston County Courthouse and received a lesson in the American court system from Judge Lonnie Cox. They also toured the League City Fire Department and had some interaction with fellow emergency workers. As a part of the program, they also received arms training and did ride-alongs with League City police officers to experience community policing firsthand. The cadets aren't only paired with officers for training, they spend 24 hours a day with officers and their families, an experience neither officer nor student will ever forget.
I enjoy a great time in my host families, and the police officers are being so nice, and I had great experience during patrol.
It was just a good experience. Did 2 different cultures coming together. We both learned from each other, and we got a lot out of it. We built a relationship. The cadet we sponsored last year, we actually Facebook with him, email him. He calls us mom and dad, and we used to have a good relationship with him. So and this year with Chris, same thing.
So what's the next step?
Probably the next logical step would be to send a delegation of our police officers to China. We're hopeful that that will happen in the near future, and again, we think that these opportunities provide the citizens of League City with a more well-rounded police department and with police officers that are truly prepared to meet their every need.
While the trip may be over for these 9 cadets, the program still continues to educate and enlighten League City Police Department and the cadets from the Zhejiang Police Academy.
Today is the time to say goodbye, but I think it's not the end of the story, it's just the beginning. Thanks everyone.
What we have learned is that this program, though, in Texas began over 2 years ago and has yet to be reported in the alternative or mainstream media. Here's footage from 2010.
Zhejiang Police College students received firearms training from Alvin and League City Police Department officers during a morning-long course at Alvin Community College's indoor range on January 8th. Prior to shooting live rounds, the students received a safety briefing and instruction on effective firearm usage. Training began with the handling, loading, and firing of Glock semi-automatic pistols. Students were then able to examine and compare shooting techniques and scores at various distances on the range. Following several demonstrations by officers, the students even got to experience the thrill of firing an MP5 submachine gun. The 16 students are participating in an exchange program with Sam Houston State University for an academic year so they can gain experience in working with citizens of other countries and gain new perspectives in serving the community. As part of the program, the university arranged for the students to share the working and social lives of police officers from the area for 4 days. In addition to gaining firearms experience, the students were able to ride on patrol, participate in various duties, and live with the officers.
What these videos clearly demonstrate is that these Chinese police, these Chinese cadets, are not just simply observers. In training, they are actively involved in law enforcement activities within the borders of the United States.